I need to tell you something that happened to my older brother Daniel back in October of 1997. I was only 9 years old at the time, but what happened that Halloween changed our family forever. My brother was 16, a sophomore in high school, and by all accounts just a normal kid. He played JV basketball, got decent grades, had a girlfriend named Ashley who wore too much body glitter. Typical mid-90s teenager stuff. I'm sharing this now because I finally got access to something I'd been searching for since I turned 18, the 911 recording. It took me years of freedom of information requests, phone calls to the county clerk's office, emails to retired dispatchers. Most people told me it had been destroyed, that recordings from that far back weren't kept, but I found it, and I wish to God I hadn't. Let me back up and give you some context about where we lived. Our house was in Millbrook, Pennsylvania, a nothing town about 40 minutes outside of Scranton. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where the biggest excitement was Friday night football games and the annual Harvest Festival. Our neighbourhood was one of those cookie-cutter developments built in the early 90s, all vinyl siding and two-car garages, sitting on what used to be farmland. Behind our backyard, maybe 300 yards of overgrown field separated our house from a patch of woods. Beyond those woods ran an old county road that hardly anyone used anymore since they built the bypass in '94. That Halloween fell on a Friday, which meant the neighbourhood was going absolutely crazy with trick-or-treaters. My mum had bought probably 10 bags of candy, and my dad had set up this elaborate haunted walkway on our front porch with cotton cobwebs and a motion sensor witch that cackled when kids walked by. I remember being so excited because I was finally old enough to go out with my friends without parent supervision, though supervision just meant my mum watching us from the Johnsons' porch 3 houses down. Daniel had been acting weird for about a week before Halloween. Not in any major way, just off. He'd come home from school and go straight to his room. He stopped shooting hoops in the driveway with our dad. At dinner, he'd push his food around his plate and stare out the window toward the backyard. When my mum asked if something was wrong, he'd just shrug and say he was tired, probably coming down with something. The day before Halloween, I remember walking past his room and hearing him on the phone. His door was cracked open just enough that I could see him sitting on his bed, cord stretched across the room from the phone on his desk. He was talking to his friend Marcus, I think. "I'm telling you, man, something's not right," Daniel was saying. His voice had this edge to it I'd never heard before. Every night this week, same time, same place. I couldn't hear what Marcus said on the other end. No, not a person. I don't know what it is, it's just standing there, in the field. I should have asked him about it. I was 9, curious as hell, and my brother talking about mysterious things in the field behind our house should have been the most interesting thing in my world. But my friend Tommy had just gotten a Nintendo 64, and I was way more concerned with getting to his house to play GoldenEye. Halloween night started normal enough. The sun set around 6:30, and by 7 o'clock the neighbourhood was flooded with kids in costume. Power Rangers, Spice Girls, a lot of Scream masks, because that movie had come out the year before. I was dressed as a ninja, all black clothes from my closet, and a plastic sword from the dollar store. My mum made me wear a reflective vest over it, which I thought ruined the whole effect. Daniel was supposed to hand out candy. That was the deal my parents made with him. He was too old to trick or treat, but too young to go to the parties happening at senior kids' house. He'd seemed fine with it earlier in the day, even helped my dad set up the decoration. But around 7:30 I came home to grab my pillowcase because the plastic pumpkin I'd been using was already full, and I found him standing at the sliding glass door in our kitchen, staring out into the backyard. "Danny?" I said. We called him Danny back then, though he'd later insist everyone call him Daniel. "You okay?" He didn't turn around. "Do you see it?" I walked over and looked out into the darkness. Our backyard had a floodlight on the garage that lit up maybe 30 feet, enough to see the swing set and the garden shed. Beyond that, everything faded into shadow. The field was completely dark. "See what?" "In the field, right at the edge where the grass gets tall." I pressed my face against the glass, cupping my hands around my eyes to block the reflection. I couldn't see anything except darkness, and maybe the vague outline of trees in the distance. "There's nothing there," I said. Daniel's reflection in the glass showed him frowning. "It was just there, standing right at the edge. I saw it move. Probably just a deer or something. Tommy's dad said he saw a whole bunch of them last week." "It wasn't a deer." His voice was flat. "Certain. My mum called from the front of the house that I needed to get back outside before my friends left without me. I grabbed my pillowcase and ran, leaving Daniel standing at that door. I got home around 9:30, my bag heavy with candy, my cheeks sore from smiling at every adult who commented on my costume. The neighbourhood was still pretty active. Older kids were out now, Teenagers who were too cool to dress up, but still wanted free candy. Our house was dark, except for the porch light and a lamp in the living room window. I came in through the garage, dumping my candy bag on the kitchen table to sort through my haul. My parents were in the living room watching a movie, something with Tom Hanks. The bowl of candy by the front door was nearly empty. "Where's Danny?" I asked. "In his room," my mum said without looking away from the TV. "He said he had a headache. Can you turn off the porch light? I think we're done for the night." I flipped off the outside light and was about to head upstairs when I noticed the sliding glass door was open. Not wide open, but cracked about 6 inches. Cold October air was seeping in, and I could hear the distant sounds of the neighbourhood. Kids laughing, parents calling, someone's car stereo playing Monster Mash. "Mum, the back door's open. Daniel probably opened it to cool down. Just close it, sweetheart." I walked over to slide it shut, and that's when I saw him. Daniel was standing in the backyard, maybe 20 feet from the house. Right at the edge where the floodlights reach started to fade. He was completely still, facing the field. He wasn't wearing a jacket, just his Penn State sweatshirt and jeans. "Danny's outside," I called to my parents. "What?" My dad's voice had that edge of annoyance. He'd just gotten comfortable on the couch. "He's in the backyard, just standing there." I heard my dad sigh and get up. He came into the kitchen, looked out the door, and his expression changed from annoyed to confused. "Daniel," he shouted. "Get inside, it's freezing out there." Daniel didn't move, didn't even turn around. My dad slid the door open wider. "Daniel, now!" Nothing. My brother stood there like a statue. My dad muttered something under his breath and stepped outside. I followed, despite my mum telling me to stay in the house. The grass was wet with dew, soaking through my sneakers immediately. As we got closer to Daniel, I could see his breath forming clouds in the air. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. "Daniel, what are you doing?" My dad's voice was softer now, concerned. He reached out and touched Daniel's shoulder. Daniel flinched like he'd been shocked, spinning around fast enough that my dad took a step back. In the dim light from the house, I could see my brother's face. His eyes were wide, glassy. He was trembling. "Dad," he whispered. "Do you see it?" "See what, son?" "In the field. It's there again. It's been there every night." Daniel's voice was shaking. "It's closer tonight." My dad and I both looked towards the field. I still couldn't see anything except darkness and the faint silhouette of trees against the slightly lighter sky. "There's nothing there, Danny," my dad said gently. "Come inside. You're freezing." "It's right there." Daniel's voice cracked. He pointed with a shaking hand toward the field. "Right at the edge of the tall grass. It's watching us. It's been watching the house." My dad put his arm around Daniel's shoulders and started guiding him back towards the house. Daniel kept his eyes locked on the field the whole way, walking backwards, stumbling over his own feet. I brought up the rear, and I'll admit, my brother's fear was contagious. I kept glancing back at the field, half expecting to see something emerge from the darkness. We got inside, and my dad locked the door. Daniel collapsed into one of the kitchen chairs, his whole body shaking. My mum came in, took one look at him, and immediately went into mom mode, feeling his forehead, asking if he felt sick, wondering if he'd taken any drugs. That last question made my dad shoot her a look. I'm fine," Daniel said, but he clearly wasn't. "I'm just tired. Can I go to bed?" My parents exchanged glances, having one of those silent conversations that adults do. Finally, my dad nodded. "Yeah, go get some rest. We'll talk in the morning." Daniel stood up and walked towards the stairs, moving like he was in a daze. He paused at the doorway to the kitchen and looked back at the sliding glass door. "You should close the curtain," he said quietly. "Don't let it see in." After he went upstairs, my parents talked in low voices. I heard words like stress and teenage problems and maybe he should talk to someone. They decided to call our family doctor in the morning if Daniel wasn't feeling better. I went to bed around 10:30, my head full of candy and my brother's strange behaviour. My room was on the second floor, right next to Daniel's. The walls were thin enough that I could usually hear when he was playing music or talking on the phone. That night, I heard nothing. I don't know what time I fell asleep, but I woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, quick footsteps, like someone running. Then I heard Daniel's door open and close. I lay there in the dark, listening. The house was silent, except for the usual creaks and the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Then I heard the sound of our landline phone being dialed. 3 tones, quick succession. Not a full phone number, just 3 digits. I got out of bed and opened my door as quietly as I could. The hallway was dark except for a sliver of light coming from under my parents' bedroom door at the end of the hall. Daniel's door was closed. The sound was coming from downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs and peered down. I could see the glow from the kitchen. and I heard Daniel's voice. He was talking, but I couldn't make out the words. His tone was urgent, frightened. I went down a few steps, staying in the shadows. From there, I could see into the kitchen. Daniel was standing at the phone on the wall, the receiver pressed to his ear. He was staring out the sliding glass door. The curtains were open again, though I was sure my dad had closed them before we went upstairs. "Please, you have to send someone," Daniel was saying. His voice was high, panicked. "It's in my backyard. It's trying to get in the house." My blood went cold. He'd called 911. "Yes, I'm sure. I can see it right now. It's standing right outside the door. Please, I'm scared. I don't know what it is." He stopped talking, listening to whatever the dispatcher was saying. His free hand was gripping the edge of the counter so hard his knuckles were white. "My address? It's 847 Maple Ridge Drive, Millbrook. Please hurry. Please, it's..." He stopped mid-sentence. The hand holding the phone slowly lowered to his side, the receiver dangling by the cord. He was staring at the glass door, completely frozen. "Danny," I whispered from the stairs. He didn't respond. His eyes were locked on something outside. I followed his gaze, but I still couldn't see anything, except the reflection of the kitchen light on the glass and the darkness beyond. Then the sliding door moved. Just an inch, maybe less. Like someone, or something, had pushed it from the outside. The door was locked. I'd watched my dad lock it, but it rattled gently in its track. Daniel made a sound I'd never heard before, something between a gasp and a sob. He backed away from the door, pressing himself against the refrigerator. "No, no, 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 no," he was muttering. "Please, no, please go away, please." The porch light suddenly blazed on. My dad had motion sensors installed on all the outdoor lights, and they were sensitive enough to catch cats and raccoons. The sudden flood of light made me jump, and I heard Daniel yelp. In the white glare of the floodlight, I could see our entire backyard. The swing set, the garden shed, the grass, silver with frost, the field beyond, still dark, but now with visible edges where the mowed lawn met the wild grass. There was nothing there. I heard my parents' door open above me, my dad's voice thick with sleep and irritation. "What's going on?" He came down the stairs, nearly tripping over me. My mum was right behind him. We all ended up in the kitchen where Daniel was still pressed against the fridge, the phone receiver swinging slowly beside him, the 911 dispatcher's tinny voice calling out, "Hello, caller. Are you there? Can you hear me?" My dad grabbed the phone. "Hello. Yes, I'm sorry. This is the boy's father. There's no emergency. I'm very sorry. My son, he's not feeling well. I think he's confused." I couldn't hear what the dispatcher said, but my dad's face went through several expressions: embarrassment, frustration, concern. He kept glancing at Daniel, who had slid down to the floor and was sitting with his knees pulled up to his chest, rocking slightly. Yes, I understand. No, we don't need anyone to come out. Yes, I'm sure. Again, I'm very sorry for the false alarm. Yes, thank you. Good night." He hung up and immediately crouched down in front of Daniel. "What were you thinking? You called 911. Do you have any idea how serious that is?" "It was here," Daniel whispered. "It was right outside the door. It was trying to get in. I saw it, Dad. I really saw it." My mom wrapped a blanket around Daniel's shoulders. "Honey, there's nothing out there. Look." She gestured to the sliding door, to the brightly lit backyard beyond. "See? Nothing?" It was there. Daniel's voice was small, defeated. When the light came on, it left. It went back to the field. My parents got Daniel back to bed eventually, though my dad had to practically carry him up the stairs. I heard them in his room for a long time, talking in low voices. My mum came out at one point to get water, and I heard her crying softly. I went back to my room, but I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way Daniel's voice had sounded on the phone, the genuine terror in it. My brother wasn't the type to make things up or seek attention. He was the steady one, the responsible one. If he said he saw something, then maybe... Around 3 a.m. I heard sirens in the distance. They got closer, and then I saw red and blue lights flashing across my bedroom wall. I ran to the window and looked out. A police car was pulling up in front of our house. The 911 dispatcher must have insisted on a welfare check despite my dad's assurances. I heard my dad go downstairs and open the front door. Voices drifted up, official sounding and apologetic. The officer came inside and I heard my dad explaining the situation. Teenager, stressed about school, been acting strange, no drugs, no alcohol, just some kind of episode. The officer asked to speak to Daniel. My dad went upstairs to get him and I cracked my door open to watch. Daniel came down in his sweatpants and t-shirt, looking pale and exhausted. The officer was kind, asking questions in a gentle voice. How was Daniel feeling? Had he taken anything? Was he feeling like he might hurt himself or anyone else? Daniel answered everything in a monotone. No, he hadn't taken anything. No, he didn't want to hurt anyone. He'd just seen something that scared him. Yes, he understood he shouldn't call 911 unless there was a real emergency. The officer talked to my parents about maybe having Daniel see a doctor, just to rule out anything medical. They thanked him profusely and apologised probably 20 more times. After he left, the house fell quiet again. The next morning, technically later that same morning, Daniel didn't come down for breakfast. My mum went to check on him and found his room empty. His bed was made, which was unusual for Daniel. His window was open. We found him in the backyard. He'd gone out there at dawn, and he was standing at the exact spot where the field began, staring down at the ground. When my dad called to him, he turned around slowly. There were footprints, he said. His voice was hoarse. Right here, leading from the field to the house and back again. I saw them when it got light, but they're gone now. The frost melted, and they're gone. My dad walked out to where Daniel was standing and looked at the ground. Son, I think you need to talk to someone. This isn't normal. You're seeing things that aren't there. You're scared of nothing. We're worried about you. I'm not crazy, Daniel said, but his voice cracked on the last word, like he wasn't sure. They took him to Dr. Brennan that Monday. I didn't go, but I heard my parents talking about it afterward. The doctor couldn't find anything physically wrong with Daniel. His vitals were fine. His blood work came back normal. Dr. Brennan suggested it might be stress or anxiety, maybe the beginning of depression. He referred Daniel to a therapist in Scranton. Daniel went to 3 sessions before he refused to go anymore. He said the therapist didn't believe him, just wanted to talk about school and his feelings. He stopped mentioning the figure in the field. When anyone asked how he was doing, he'd say fine and change the subject. But he was different after that Halloween. He started sleeping with his light on. He put blankets over his windows, blocking them completely. He stopped going in the backyard. When it got dark, he'd avoid any room with windows that faced the field. His grades dropped. He quit the basketball team. He and Ashley broke up. I heard my mum tell my dad that Ashley said Daniel had gotten too weird, that he wouldn't go anywhere after dark, and he kept asking her if she saw things that weren't there. We moved away from Millbrook in the summer of 1999. My dad got a job transfer to New Jersey, and I think my parents were relieved to have a reason to leave. They never said it out loud, but I think that house creeped them out after that Halloween. My mum started sleeping badly. My dad began closing every curtain in the house as soon as the sun set. Daniel seemed better after we moved. Not completely better, but better. He graduated high school, went to community college. He got a job at a hardware store and eventually moved into his own apartment in Atlantic City. We didn't talk about that Halloween. It became this unspoken thing in our family. The weird time when Danny had some kind of breakdown. But Daniel never really recovered. He went through periods where he seemed okay, holding down jobs and maintaining friendships. Then he'd spiral, stop showing up for work, stop answering calls, and my parents would get a call from his landlord or a concerned friend. They'd go to his apartment and find all his windows covered, his doors triple locked, and Daniel sitting in the dark, insisting something was watching him. He was in and out of psychiatric facilities throughout his 20s. The doctors cycled through diagnoses: anxiety disorder, depression, schizophrenia, PTSD. Nothing really fit perfectly. The medications would work for a while and then stop. He'd be stable for months, even years, and then something would trigger him and he'd be right back to where he was that Halloween night. Terrified, insistent, seeing something the rest of us couldn't. Daniel died in 2008. The official cause was suicide, though my parents refused to accept that. He was found in his apartment, and the circumstances were strange. All his windows and doors were barricaded from the inside. Furniture piled against them, nailed shut in some cases. The police said he'd been dead for almost a week before the landlord finally broke in. I was 20 when he died. At the funeral, I overheard one of the officers who'd responded to his apartment talking to a colleague. He was saying how in 30 years on the force, he'd never seen anything like it. Daniel had apparently written on his walls in permanent marker the same phrase over and over: "It found me. It finally found me." It took me years to work up the courage to request that 911 recording. Part of me didn't want to hear it. Part of me needed to. I'd spent my entire adult life wondering if my brother had been mentally ill, or if maybe, just maybe, he'd seen something real that night. I finally got the file 3 months ago. It came on a CD-ROM, tucked inside an envelope from the county records office. I sat in my car in the parking lot of my apartment building for 20 minutes before I could make myself play it. The recording is 4 minutes and 37 seconds long. I've listened to it maybe 100 times now. I've had audio engineers analyze it. I've posted it on forums and sent it to paranormal investigators and skeptics alike. Everyone has a different interpretation. It starts with the dispatcher's standard greeting. 911, what's your emergency? Daniel's voice is young, higher than I remember it. Please, you have to send someone. It's in my backyard. It's trying to get in the house. The dispatcher, a woman named Carol Vincent. I tracked her down. She's retired now, living in Florida. Asked for his address and the nature of his emergency. Daniel gives our old address, his words tumbling over each other. He keeps saying it's here and it's trying to get in. Carol asks what it is. Is it a person? An animal? I don't know, Daniel says, and his voice breaks. I've seen it all week. It stands in the field behind our house, every night, just standing there, watching. But tonight it came closer. It's at the door now. I can see it through the glass. Carol asks if he can describe what he's seeing. Is it a man? Is it someone he knows? There's a pause. I've listened to this pause 1,000 times, trying to hear what Daniel was seeing. In the background, very faint, you can hear the hum of our refrigerator. You can hear Daniel's breathing, quick and shallow. It's... He starts, then stops. It's shaped like a person, but it's too tall. And it's not... It doesn't move right. Its arms are too long. Oh God, it's looking right at me. It knows I can see it. Carol's voice remains calm and professional. She tells Daniel she's dispatching officers to his location. She asks him if he's alone in the house, if there's anywhere safe he can go. My parents are asleep upstairs. My little brother, I can't let it get to them. I have to. Stay on the line with me, Daniel, Carol says. She uses his name, which she must have gotten from the address database. Don't approach it. Don't open the door. Help is on the way. It's moving, Daniel whispered. There's a sound on the recording that I can't identify. Audio engineers I've sent it to can't agree on what it is. Some say it's the sound of the sliding glass door rattling in its track. Others say it's feedback or interference on the line. One person told me it sounds like a knock, but distorted, wrong somehow. 3 slow knocks. Daniel makes a sound that's almost a scream. Then his voice drops to barely a whisper. It's knocking. It wants to come in. Why is it knocking? Carol, why would it knock? Stay calm, Daniel. The police are 3 minutes away. It's not a person. Daniel's voice has changed. There's something in it I can't quite name. Not just fear, something else. Recognition, maybe. It's not Carol. I don't think it's from here. I don't think it's supposed to be here. I think it's been watching me because it wants... What does it want, Daniel? It wants me to let it in. Another long pause. Then Daniel's breathing changes. It becomes slower, steadier. When he speaks again, his voice is different. Calmer. Too calm. It's okay, he says. It's okay now. I understand. Daniel, what do you understand? Why it's here. Why it chose me. It's been waiting in that field for a long time. Longer than the houses. Longer than the roads. It was there first, and we built on top of where it lives. It just wants to go home. Daniel, I need you to stay focused. The police are almost there. I should let it in, Daniel says, and his voice sounds dreamy, distant. It's cold out there. It's been so cold for so long. There's a sudden loud noise. This is the sound of the motion light turning on. I know because I heard it from upstairs that night. On the recording, it's much louder, like it's right next to the phone. Daniel's voice changes instantly, the calm evaporating. He's screaming, no, 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 no. There's a crash. This is when he dropped the phone, I think. You can hear it swinging on the cord, bumping against the wall. In the background, very faint, you can hear my dad's voice. What's going on? The recording continues for another 43 seconds. You can hear movement, voices, but it's all distant and muffled. Then there's the sound of the phone being picked up, and my dad's voice comes through clearly. Hello? Yes. I'm sorry. This is... The official incident report says that officers arrived at 3:27 a.m. and found no signs of forced entry, no evidence of any intruder, and a disturbed juvenile who was referred for psychiatric evaluation. Case closed. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. The thing I haven't told anyone except my wife. And even she thinks I'm reading too much into it. On the recording, during that 43 seconds after Daniel dropped the phone, you can hear something. It's very faint. I've had to amplify the audio to make it clear. But once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's a voice, not my dad's voice, not Daniel's. It's speaking, but the words don't sound like any language I recognize. The cadence is wrong. The sound's too harsh and too fluid at the same time. And underneath it, so quiet you almost miss it, is the sound of the sliding glass door opening. Last year, I drove back to Millbrook. I hadn't been there since we moved. The town looks different, more developed, more houses, a new shopping plaza where the old Dairy Queen used to be. But our old neighbourhood looks exactly the same cookie-cutter houses, same streets. I parked in front of 847 Maple Ridge Drive. A different family lives there now. Young couple, probably in their 30s, with a toddler I could see playing in the front yard. The house looked well maintained, happy. I sat there for an hour, working up the courage to walk up to the door and ask if I could see the backyard. In the end, I couldn't do it. I started the car and drove around the block instead, coming up on the old county road that runs behind the development. I parked and walked into the woods. It took me a while to orient myself, but eventually I found the spot where I thought our backyard would be visible. The field is still there, though it's smaller now, eaten away by the expansion of development on the other side. The grass is tall, dying off for the winter. I stood at the edge of the field, right about where Daniel said he saw it standing. From there, I had a perfect view of the back of our old house, the sliding glass door, the kitchen windows. If you stood in that exact spot, you could see directly into the house. I stood there until it got dark. I told myself I was being stupid, that I was letting Daniel's delusions affect me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing in a spot where something else had stood, that the ground beneath my feet had held something's weight while it watched my family sleep. As the sun set and the light started coming on in the house, I saw the family through the kitchen window. The mother was making dinner. The father was helping the toddler with something at the table. Normal, safe, happy. I wanted to knock on their door. I wanted to warn them, but what would I say? 27 years ago, my brother saw something in your backyard, and it drove him insane. You should leave because of a 911 call made by a disturbed teenager decades ago. I got back in my car and drove home. I haven't been back since, but I think about that family sometimes. I wonder if they've noticed anything strange, if they've seen something standing at the edge of the field on certain nights, if their kids have mentioned something watching from the darkness. I've tried to track down other people who lived in that neighbourhood around the same time to see if anyone else experienced anything unusual. Most have moved away. The ones I've found don't want to talk about it, or they don't remember anything strange. One woman, Mrs. Chen, who lived 3 houses down from us, told me before hanging up, "I always hated looking out my back windows at night. I don't know why. I just did." The audio engineers I consulted about the recording gave me various explanations for the strange voice. Interference from other calls, radio signals bleeding through, pareidolia, the tendency to perceive meaningful patterns in random noise. One engineer, a guy named Stephen who specialises in cleaning up old recordings, told me he'd worked on thousands of 911 calls and he'd never heard anything quite like it. If I had to describe it, he said, I'd say it sounds like someone trying to speak through a medium they're not designed for, like it's coming from somewhere else and being filtered through the phone line, but that's not possible. It's probably just a weird harmonic created by the phone system. Old analog lines did strange things. Probably. Maybe. Most likely. These are the words I tell myself at night when I wake up from dreams about my brother. In the dreams, he's 16 again, standing in our old kitchen, staring at the sliding glass door. When I ask him what he sees, he turns to me with eyes that are too dark, too empty. "It wants in," he says. "It's always wanted in, and eventually everyone lets it in." I still have the CD with the 911 recording. I keep it in a safety deposit box at my bank. My wife thinks I should destroy it, that it's not healthy to hold on to it. She's probably right. The rational part of my brain knows she's right. But there's another part, the part that heard my brother's genuine terror that Halloween night, that knows he wasn't making it up. He saw something. Whether it was a product of mental illness, a hallucination, or something else entirely, Daniel saw something that terrified him so badly it broke something inside him, and that thing never let him go. Sometimes, late at night, I play the recording again. I listen to Daniel's voice, so young and scared. I listen to that strange sound under the normal sounds, the voice that shouldn't be there, and I wonder if Daniel let it in that night. If in that moment, when his voice went calm, and he said he understood, if he opened something, not the door, but something inside himself, and let it in. He spent the last 11 years of his life barricading himself against something. The doctors called it paranoia, but what if it wasn't? What if he was trying to keep something out, or worse, keep something in? I don't know, I'll never know. What I do know is that my brother died terrified and alone, convinced that something from that field in Millbrook, Pennsylvania, had finally found him. The police wrote it off as a tragic case of mental illness. My parents, God rest them, died still believing their son had been sick but refused treatment. But I listened to that 911 call. I heard what's on that recording, and I keep thinking about what Daniel said to the dispatcher. It was there first, and we built on top of where it lives. It just wants to go home. What if he was right? What if there are places where something existed before us, and when we build our houses and plant our lawns and install our motion sensor lights, we're not actually making those places safe? What if we're just forcing whatever was there to find new ways to exist, to watch, to wait, to knock? I don't go outside after dark much anymore. I make sure all my curtains are closed before the sun sets. My wife thinks it's quirky, a weird habit I picked up somewhere. I've never told her the real reason. I've never told her that sometimes, when I'm alone in the house at night, I get the overwhelming feeling that something is standing just outside, looking in through the glass, waiting for me to notice it, waiting for me to really see it. And then what? I don't want to find out. That 911 recording still exists. It's filed away in some database, probably backed up on servers across the county system. Anyone with the right paperwork and enough persistence can get a copy, just like I did. Sometimes I wonder if I should release it publicly, let people hear it for themselves, and come to their own conclusion. But I won't, because part of me believes that some things shouldn't be shared, that there are sounds and sights in this world that break something in people when they're exposed to them. My brother heard something that night, saw something, and it broke him in a way that never healed. Maybe he was sick. Maybe it was all in his head. Maybe the doctors were right and there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for everything that happened. But on cold October nights, when the wind sounds like knocking and the shadows seem too long and too dark, I find myself standing at my back door, looking out into the yard beyond, looking for something that shouldn't be there, something tall and wrong, with arms too long, and movements that don't quite match the laws of physics as we understand them. I haven't seen it. Not yet. And I hope I never do. Because if I do, I'll know for certain that whatever drove my brother insane wasn't inside his head. It was real. It is real. And it's still out there, standing in fields and empty lots and dark places between houses, watching and waiting for someone to really see it. Waiting for someone to understand, like Daniel did. Waiting for someone to let it in.